Hello. I can't get a signal to get out. No, I think they got it blocked in. Anyway, we've got, Rosie's got the stuff covered. So I'm going to be recording and I'm going to upload it to YouTube tonight. So you'll be able to watch it on the internet. I don't know, I'm not getting any signal. It won't hit it. Okay? All right, I'll find out, okay? Okay, dear. I don't know how else I can bring you in. Hold on, let me walk in there and try it and see what happens. Hold on. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, you're on speaker, I'll leave you on speaker as long as it'll hold.
Well,
How you doing, John?
All right.
okay.
Nice to sit there, huh?
My other one off, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
But you had a rabies shot.
Yeah.
Can you hear? Okay.
We're on, good to go?
If I lose you, I'll call you back.
Okay, are you on a 65 number?
Yes.
Can you mute that, please?
Call me on the phone number when you call me back.
I have an owner who wants to hear the meeting.
Can you mute it?
No, he wants to hear the meeting.
Can you mute it from your side?
No, I don't want to. I want to be able to talk to him. Yeah.
Good. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 2016 annual budget meeting. Thanks for a great turnout. It's nice to have this much participation from the community. We're excited that everybody's here. We're going to start off with the budget for next year. Our vision, our proposal. We welcome your feedback and comments. And then as soon as we finish the 2016 budget meeting, we're going to go ahead and have our regular scheduled board meeting. I want to introduce a couple new folks here for those in attendance. As everybody here knows, we have made a decision to disengage from First Service Residential. We have engaged after a pretty exhaustive search on Director King and John Dick's part, and selected Aegis Property Management. Barbara is our new property manager or community manager, and I've not met Chris yet, so I'll introduce Chris. Starting on December 7th, these will be your two key interaction points for the community. We thank Ramona and Jeff, for their service. And then representing the Orlando Law Group.
Kim Hosley.
Good. Jennifer, our key contact, is traveling today. Good, so I'm gonna turn the meeting over from a budget standpoint to Treasurer Zaremba, who has put in, along with his Budget and Finance Committee, many dozens of hours of hard work on this. And this is a culmination of a lot of efforts, a lot of scrutiny, and a lot of work.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks,
Don.
Dave.
Thanks for your hard work.
All right, first of all, I can start off, my name's Don, for those of you guys who don't know me, there's a lot of new faces here today. I also want to start off by saying thank you to our finance committee members, Sarah Crawford, Pamela Yako, Mike Keshbard, and James Timko. They put a lot of time in scrutinizing numbers quite extensively, and I'll kind of just give a summary of some of the major points. I'm sure because of turnout, you guys will have some questions on some of the other stuff. As you guys see, our dues are gonna go up, and mainly that was due to an increase for infrastructure improvements that we feel we're gonna need to have to make our community more competitive with the other communities that are being built and are in planning stages to be built in the near future. Just going through it, the reserves are gonna take the biggest increase. And one other thing I'd like to say before we get into numbers, one of the things the finance committee wanted to do this year was be more transparent, not fudge numbers and marginal. So what happened, the original reserve got reduced a little bit before we added in the improvements. And then there's another area that also got reduced quite a bit. One is reclaimed water for our irrigation, that got knocked down quite a bit. And let's see, you can see the other one here. Oh, the bad debt. The bad debt was basically overfunded, so that got reduced quite a bit. There needed to be as much money in those areas. So there was about a $5 decrease and then a $20 increase. So it was a net of like $15.79. Let's see, what else? Oh, the other thing I'd like to point out too, while we're doing this increase, while it does seem a little bit significant, it works out to about 17% increase. And just looking at the past years, which we sent back to you guys to read before coming here, our largest increase was 19% from 08 to 09. So there was a $21 increase, and we're increasing at $15, almost 16.
So the final dues for 2016 are gonna be $104.22 a month. That may vary just a little bit. We're looking at some final numbers that may just tweak that a little bit, but that's about where we're at, is about $104.22, $104 and change per month.
And with that, is there any questions or any other things that?
Hey, go ahead, David.
This extra money right now is for projection of what's yet to come?
The extra money is gonna be about $251,000, and it's gonna go in a reserve account, and that's gonna be added to several of the other money market accounts that we already have existing. So we can use approximately about $1 to $1.2 million to redo the gates, this building, and the swimming pool. But we need to start funding it. Will this happen exactly next year? We're not quite sure, but we gotta break ground next year.
This is a projection, not a, this isn't set in stone.
No, it's not set in stone.
There'll probably be another increase,
There could be another increase next year.
probably.
Yeah, probably.
So what we're trying to do is go ahead and save some money to go ahead and provide the amenities to make North Shore competitive with the areas around us, as well as the deficiencies that we have. You know, the numbers come back for this building, the capacity in this building is built for about 88 people. Well, we have almost 4,000 people live here at North Shore. So our goal is to expand this recreation center, make the fitness center larger for our residents. We also get a lot of feedback to have an adult swimming pool, maybe a lap pool. Maybe we can plan ahead and have it solar heated so it can be used year round. This pool completely fills up, and it fills up a lot with families. So came back for height recommendations for an adult pool, which we think is a good amenity. Maybe a racquetball or squash court, and kind of blow the fitness center into this space. Now, we're not architects, we haven't retained any architects at this point, but we know that the parking in this building is deficient. We know that this building is nowhere near the size for the 4,000 odd people that live here at North Shore. So we're gonna increase the parking space, we're gonna increase the size and footprint of this building, more along the auspices of the people that live here. It's grossly inadequate. And we all know that we have to do something with the gates, whether we get North Shore Golf Club Boulevard gated in, which is really quite a long shot still at this point. At the very least, we have to improve the interior gates. They're broken all the time, people piggyback in, that comes back as a high requested item for us to work on and to maintain. We may put cameras on the gates, we may put walking gates in like Sparrow Landing has. The police calls to service the Sparrow Landing per home are significantly lower than what they are to the rest of North Shore, probably because they have walking gates there. So what we have to do, if we're gonna go ahead and spend the money down the road, we're gonna have to start accumulating some reserves and some savings, just like anybody would save up to buy a house or to purchase a car, things like that. And we've gone through the budget, and actually on the amenities that we want to reserve and increase, it comes out to $20-something a month. But through the hard work of Don and Don's hundreds of hours of scrutiny to our expenses and challenging vendors and pushing back, and John renegotiating with vendors, we've been able to cut it down to $15 and change. So we actually looped 20-something% off what it would be just solely on the increases that we want to do here in the community.
She got a question right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So forgive me if it sounds stupid, but on the first page, it's in the notice, we have unrestricted cash and money of, let's round up to $2 million. It says $1,998, $2,062.
You on the back side now?
No, I'm on the Deer Homeowners, the Finance Committee is submitting the
Yeah,
proposed
the last
budget.
sentence right there.
Okay, so it says here that we would like to have the unrestricted cash.
We're gonna use a lot of that money. We don't wanna use all of that money out.
Right, but here's where I'm trying to go with this. I'm reading it and I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. I look at this and when I read the letter, it says it's being considered, but the highest priority is still a guarded gate with security cameras. And then on the back of the letter, it says the board is in early development stages of creating a strategy and a timeline. So I'm trying to understand if you're taking the unrestricted cash and you're.
Some of the unrestricted cash.
Okay. The way I'm reading it, and this is what I'm trying to clarify, because I don't understand exactly what we're doing with this money. And I don't mean to sound disrespectful.
Well, you're not at
but-
all. Go ahead.
But, because if the number one priority is to improve the boulevard, what is the status of that project? Do we have any idea what it would cost? And I'm not
Yeah.
asking you to answer that.
No, I'm
right
happy to
now.
answer it, sure. We will not, I can't imagine that we would get North Shore Golf Club Boulevard gated in during 2016. It's a long process, there's county, it is a very, very long process.
And-
However,
Mhm.
we are getting green lights all the way across to do it. But even if we got permission today, magically from the county,
Right.
and of course, the city of Orlando said if we secede into the city of Orlando, they would immediately allow us to gate that in. But we're not prepared to do that, and that takes a lot more work than even this. We don't even know if we have the physical infrastructure at this point to even gate it if we were given permission. You have gotta have room to allow unfettered access to the school. We have to include Heron Point within the gates, okay, we can't exclude Heron Point. We would have to make sure that, the school has access. We have to make sure that there's a resident lane, so all of y'all that have a barcode or whatever device we use can zip right into North Shore without being blocked. We have to have a way for a guard to challenge people, whether they belong here, whether you've gone ahead and called it in.
Right.
And just as much, we have to be able to have infrastructure to turn around a vehicle
Right.
that is denied access into North Shore. And additionally, what we have to do is make sure that we don't have traffic back onto Moss Park Road and create a safety hazard. So there's a lot of moving parts to it. At the last board meeting, we funded a little bit of money to talk to some engineers to see if we can shoehorn that in. And remember, we've got the two ponds on either side as well, whether we can physically do it. If we can't physically do it, you know, we had a couple things that would go and no-go. We have to make sure Heron Point's included, otherwise it's a no-go. We have to make sure that we can physically do it, otherwise why go down this road and bother with it if we can't put it in there without having the things that a gate needs to have, and to have turnaround and to have unfettered access to the school.
Now, we have to buy the property?
No,
No, it's our
We don't,
property.
okay, we don't have to buy the road.
correct.
We
But I
do.
think what he's saying is, there's some expenses that have to be made just to see if we could even do it.
We would not buy,
Right.
we would not buy the road from Orange County. We would be responsible for maintaining North Shore Golf Club Boulevard, like we do all of our interior roads within the gate.
Okay.
The good news is, we just got the county to resurface the road and do quite a bit of work on the road. And the
Right.
anticipation is that road will not need any work for approximately 10 years. Now, if they build, I think you folks, one second, I'll recognize you, sir, for sure. If they go ahead and do all of this development over by Innovation Way and Camino Real and the 28,000 homes they're talking about, and the 28,000 cars they anticipate dumping onto Moss Park Road, if 10%, if 15% of those cars cut through North Shore Golf Club Boulevard, that's gonna have more traffic than we even have today, wearing up the road, congestion coming out of our homes. All of those cars would have to make a right turn onto Kirby Smith.
Dave, excuse me, but did you draw that conclusion from actually looking at the road map, the DRI for the roads, for the road alignment? Because the road alignment has Innovation Way taking all that traffic to the north of Moss Park Boulevard.
This is input that came from Commissioner Thompson's office
You-
for Moss Park Road.
You see next to the church, or that road that they're building, that's gonna be, the south connected to Moss Park Road.
Right,
So those 10,000 homes in there.
Yeah, in
will
Moss
have
Park-
access to Moss Park Road.
yeah, and the road alignment there at that intersection of Innovation Way, south, and Moss Park Road is a T. In other words, the main thoroughfare of traffic is Innovation Way south.
And you know, the
Going
city,
out to Narcisse Road.
and the city of Orlando actually wanted to make that road across from our exit on Moss Park Road, to run that traffic through us, and we put our foot down, and through very competent representation from Orlando Law Group, told the city that we would fight them on that.
The road
The city-
alignment is done.
It is done, but I said the city tried to buy that land, or eminent domain that land from us, to run all that traffic through North Shore Golf Club Boulevard. And through the leadership of your board, we put our hands up in the air and said, absolutely no way, we'll fight China.
Yeah, but that's not gonna happen, that's a moot point.
I'm sorry, it's not a moot point, it's a very relevant point.
Here's my question. Until we get approval from Orange County, which I've already been told from several people down there that it's never gonna happen, because if there's anything that stops off Moss Park Road, this is the only way that they can detour traffic through either way, and they won't give that access up to block it off. But before we go spending money on stuff, we need to get approvals first.
No, actually, it's the opposite. We have to go and poll the community, see if the community is receptive to it, the survey. Then we had to go back and see if we're finding, there's a list of 22 items, odd items from the county on their procedure list,
Okay.
which is what was given to us from the county on what to make sure that we're financially strong enough to be able to maintain North Shore Golf Club Boulevard. We just can't take it over without having reserves to fund it. Do we know how to maintain a road? Yes, we already have our interior roads and we're accustomed to. So actually, they have a fairly long checklist of it. Part of which was to meet with the school, which has agreed to allow us to support us in gaining in the community. The golf course has agreed to support us in gaining in the community. So we're actually fairly far along the threshold list. And we haven't spent hardly any money at all. It's just been a lot of legwork and talking points, trying to go through the checklist to see where we are. And we'll know probably within 30 or 45 days if we can physically do it. And that's really gonna be the stop, don't do it, or keep having dialogue and doing it. But we're pretty close to go or no go on that, waiting to hear from engineers, and I'm not an engineer. But I know, like, across from the YMCA, they gated those 88 condos, and they're already having trouble with the gates, and traffic is backing up on Narcoossee Road, which is a pretty fast highway. So we can't let that happen. Absolutely. Yes, go ahead, sir.
When are we going to see the results of the survey? I mean, you have a survey.
Sure.
As far as I know, we've not received any information from the board on what that survey showed.
What would you like to know about the survey?
Well, I'd like to
We
get a
can put it
copy
in
of the
next
survey. I'd like to know what did the people vote, what did they say?
And who voted?
Good, we'll put it in the next, one of the main issues that we had with the survey, to be candid with y'all, is First Service gave the email list to the survey vendor, and we only had emails for like 38–40% of our residents, which was a startling discovery to your board. Now, with Aegis coming in, one of their first mandates is to redo profiles on all of our residents to make sure that we have proper contact numbers, emergency contact numbers, a good email address, and things like that. So that's one of the first things. When the budget comes out, your coupon book comes out, you'll be giving a survey form that you can either fill out, email, fax, or maybe populate online with your preferred contact information. I couldn't believe that we didn't have email addresses for 60% of our residents. So when there's a lost dog or vandalism or any other issue that we want to communicate to the community, we didn't even have email addresses for half our residents. So that was really disappointing for us.
Well, let me continue on.
Yeah, but the gist of the survey, of the people that responded, the gist of the survey
You put that under the tourniquet, please.
was about 79% in favor, about 9% not in favor, and the remaining either didn't have enough information or stated they had no opinion. So it was about 80%.
What percentage of how many people?
I think 440 surveys, distinctive surveys went out, and I think the return rate was almost 90%.
How many were duplicates?
Good. Go ahead, ma'am.
So at what point, in this, planning process for meeting the entire boulevard would be the next checkpoint where, all the homeowners are polled for, giving an informed response, given that the first one had such, poor response rate, for the overall community, not for the,
I don't even think that we're gonna do, I don't think we're even gonna do that if we can't physically put the gate in, which is really what we're, the next step.
Okay, so would that be the next point then, when
Yes.
the residents would be, provided information, not just a survey, and are you interested?
Sure, but that was the first step, whether we should even go down the road to even put in the hundreds of hours of work to it. Was there a degree of interest? There was a very high degree of interest, which started us down that path.
I apologize because I
I'm sorry, there were some other people waiting. Go ahead.
I have a couple questions about the survey. I'm concerned because was given the number that they only had 38% of the emails. That survey cost us $1,316.
Where do you get that number from?
Well, I will be very happy to show it to you. We created the survey for North Shore at Lake Hart, $227.50. Sent Survey Monkey to additional residents, $78. Received additional emails from residents, $13. Received additional emails from residents and HOA, $39. Email distribution list accordingly, received additional emails, $117. Telephone call to board regarding the status of the survey, $60. Entered additional email addresses on the North Shore Excel page, $130. Responded to additional emails, $65.
Okay, got it.
No, I'm not done. Created PDF for North Shore at Lake Hart Survey Monkey and emailed to residents, $650. Gold Survey Monkey Gold Plan, $300. If you add it all up, and if anybody wants to see the numbers, I have them here, comes up to $1,316. We also paid January 5th of 2015, $385 for Jennifer England to meet with Jennifer Thompson. I have an email from Jennifer Thompson. She said she is adamant. She told you and Miss England the county will not support this. We've got it in emails. I can read it to you if you'd like me to read it to you. I just don't understand why we're wasting $1,700 on something that's never going to happen.
May I respond as another homeowner? I appreciate the information that you've provided, but I think that that's kind of the price of running the association.
No, when we have a website that can do a survey for free, I think this is excessive.
Okay, and you're entitled to that opinion.
Yeah,
And
but
if
when we
we could
asked a
just-
while back, they told us that it cost the association zero money to do
What
the
I-
survey, zero. That's a
Okay.
big difference from zero to $1,300.
I would appreciate it if we could stay on topic.
Target, right.
We are on
And
topic.
That is.
and I have another question about the survey, please, because unfortunately, I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I did not get the survey.
Right.
I didn't realize that it probably went into my spam. So, to the point of the budget, when you said 79% of the, let's just say, 440 people that got the survey out of 1,000, they were in favor of what items?
Yeah, and I've got that.
Because I'm
We
trying.
have that
because
broken down, but.
I guess I'm,
Right,
the point I'm trying to
so
make.
let me go through the beginning. What we're trying to do now is to get more dialogue from the community, more communication, more two-way feedback, as Don said, more visibility. So this was our first cut at doing a survey. Okay, I don't know how many times over the years that you all have lived here that you've been asked what you want, and it wasn't just the gating. You know, we went through a whole laundry list of the survey of the recreation center, of dog parks, increased landscaping. I mean, there were a lot of things on that. We want two-way communication. And those who come to regular board meetings, like Mr. Bauer, you hear me say, we don't have the patent on all this. You know, this is a two-way street. We want people to. We want the residents to come to us and tell us what you want. You know, what's important to y'all. You know, the worst thing that we can do is come into the board and stay here and then leave and have people say we didn't do squat. You know, there's a lot of communities coming in around us with infrastructure. Even these apartments, I think, have a 7,000 square foot fitness center for these apartments.
9,600.
9,600 square foot in there. Eagle Creek's building a $3.4 million fitness center. When you folks go to sell your house or decide to live here or talk to your friends into moving here, you've got to have the appropriate amenities. And even if we don't gate in North Shore Golf Club Boulevard, which once again, I will say it is a slim chance, we still have to increase the quality of the interior gates that we have now. I mean, the gates are crap, they fall off the post, cars piggyback in, they're almost worse than useless. And we have to increase that anyway, so this money is gonna go into pre-funding reserves for some major items. And then when it gets down to choice time, as we talked about, there'll be more surveys coming out and more feedback from the residents. They're gonna go to one or the other or both. We're either gonna increase the quality of our interior gates, we're gonna gate in North Shore Golf Club Boulevard, which I have to say is pretty remote, but that's a major coup for us if we can get that done. And we're just talking about reducing trespassing and traffic here.
David, I've been sitting back there with my hand up. Can I speak?
Sure.
This is for the treasurer. Over the years, when we first did our reserve study, I'm the one that sat on the board with Mr. Baker. We were putting away in our reserves from the very beginning, replacement of the gates. Can you tell me how much money in reserves right now that we have saved for the gates, for repairs and replacement? It should
I'd
be
have to take a
over
look at the
close to
numbers.
$200,000 or more.
Ramona, do you have that handy?
Good. Well, Ramona looks, anybody else have a question?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Sorry, who's that?
Okay.
He has the next one, yeah?
That's okay.
I'd just like to know, what is, in a grander scale, what is the total amount that we have in reserve? I know that we have reserves and then we have,
Alright, real quick, we have 1.6, almost 1.7 million in reserves. When we go to do these roads are gonna be about 1.1 million to do, if not more,
the roads for,
for every subdivision.
to repave every
Repave
road.
them.
Inside the gates, we
Yeah, it's like $1 per square foot, and those are numbers I heard a long time ago. You gotta scrape off so much and then repave it. And we have many miles of roads in our subdivision.
And a lot of that cost is a derivative of the cost of petroleum. So right now, we're all enjoying low petroleum pricing. I don't have a magic 8 ball to say in 3-4 years whether that has to, that it will be enough.
That's a project that's, planned for.
Or it absolutely has to be done.
That's not planned yet.
Well, it's a derivative of, do we go ahead and have the roads resealed, which puts off the paving project a little bit longer? Or do we bite the bullet, do paving? And once again, we're not road, engineers. Go ahead, John.
No, you're not, but there should be a reserve study specifically about the roads that was commissioned before I got off the board in the spring. Do we have that report?
We do
back
not,
yet?
and we
Because
have
that
that.
report would tell us
We do not.
whether or not we can get by the ceiling.
We have looked for it, we have asked for it, and we
The
cannot.
status is, Ramona just contacted them. They were waiting till after the summer rainy season and they're gonna finish it. Cause I was asking about that report also to see what the status is. Because we have to reseal or repave, and we'll go into it at that point.
So, and to further answer your question, for the clubhouse and for the, pool and parking, we're estimating about 1.2 million.
The total cost for.
Not the total cost, but that's what we're estimating to start and look at
No,
expanding this one.
I mean for the pool, the clubhouse and parking.
Ballpark.
That's,
Oh,
that's
we
a
have-
ballpark.
Ballpark, yes.
That's what I'm trying to.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
okay. So that's a ballpark.
Ballpark. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate all of the hours of hard work that the board has done for our community, and, you know, the budget is very detailed and extensive, I'm sure it's a lot of work, but, I was surprised to find that, there were no line-by-line explanations for amounts that have a significant change, such as, for example, newsletters from 0 to 16,000. As one example, is there anything available to us, or can you explain some of these amounts that change drastically?
Yeah, well, our point was to migrate the newsletter from a hard printed copy, which actually most people are saying they read more, to an email version, which is much less expensive, but we can't even fathom doing an electronic email version of the newsletter until we have our residents' email addresses. So our goal, if you had attended previous board meetings, was by the end of this year, that was gonna migrate to an e-newsletter, which would lower the printing cost, the postage cost. But we don't have email addresses for more than half our residents, so we're gonna continue printing the newsletter until we get a better populated database of residents' email addresses.
And that's where I
Is there any
Well,
reason
I don't know when you
that
live here.
that email
I'm gonna go
to
back
those
in 3. There used to be a
newsletters
newsletter
could
that
not be
came out.
posted on the,
I'm sorry,
the website?
can you lower that, please?
No, he's asking you a
He's
question.
asking you a question.
I'm sorry, I can't hear him, and we have other people talking.
Yeah, I'm asking a
Nor
question
do,
right now.
nor do we recognize him to speak.
So anyway, when I first moved here back in '03, shortly after that, newsletter used to come out, and for whatever reason they stopped. We haven't had it for years, and we started it back up. So that's why I went from 0 to something. We are selling ads, and we do have a credit, so then we'll get all set. But, well, how much is in there? I think it's about $2,000 credit in ads.
You don't have to say that
I'm
the
not into
the
printing, I don't
newsletter has
exactly
been
know what's the
overwhelmingly
cost.
popular among the residents.
Yeah.
I mean, overwhelmingly popular of a way to communicate what's going on, and people are saying it's the first time in years they've gotten any inkling and input on what's going on here. So of all the things that we've done during our tenure, I think the newsletter was one of the best things that we've done. on
And the old
communication.
newsletter used to be plain black and white.
Have we checked it, to see if it's going to everybody? I've never seen one. I've been a resident here for,
Where,
You didn't get a
what,
newsletter?
what is your property address?
10455 Sparrow Landing Way.
Ramona will tell you where your mail goes to, okay? Why she's here, okay? Yes, sir, go ahead.
So we're talking about in the first part of the letter, talks about the 3 main projects, which none of them have been approved by the membership, correct?
No, they have not been approved.
Okay, how do we put money away when we haven't even discussed it or think about approving those type of expenditures?
We need to start putting that money away now. This
Well,
probably won't happen
what
next
if
year.
we don't want to approve
For what?
like the gate, or like the boulevard? We had the survey.
If that gate does not happen, that money's gonna be spent on our facilities here. So we're gonna get first-class facilities here. It's not gonna be this lousy little building.
Well,
that
that's
we're
okay,
looking at
but that still has to be approved by us.
No, no, it has to be approved by everybody.
It does not. That's why you elected a board to do the infrastructure, just like all the previous
Right,
boards.
but the board is not a king.
What you'd have to do is approve, if we wanted to take this stuff away, then you'd have to approve that. You need
Sure.
66, 2/3 to approve, get rid of what's in our CCNRs. We're not getting rid of anything, we're
All
approving
I'm
it.
saying is for a large expenditure, I don't think it's prudent for the board to take the responsibility to say, we're doing this.
Okay, let me ask you this then, if we gotta get, say, 20% to approve anything, we haven't had more than about 15-16% quorums. We only had like 2 or 3 quorums in the last.
That's okay, you
10
still
years.
need to do it.
What I'm saying is, it will never happen then. And then you can settle for
I'm not saying
substandard.
you don't. I'm
Still
not saying you don't.
Still gotta do it.
Even if the 40% that we're talking about, even if that's the total that you're gonna get, you still have to do it.
No, you don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, legally, they don't. I mean,
I don't-
legally, they can choose to do
I
whatever they
don't
want.
care about legally. It's still our money, and we have some say into how the boards.
Absolutely, and that's
Okay,
why we
that-
have,
that's all I'm
and that's why
asking.
we have meetings, that's why we have surveys, that's why we have
You have
newsletters.
meetings at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Those were personnel meetings as a mainstay or legal meetings. Most of the meetings are done during, that's incorrect. Most of the meetings, when we're interviewing property managers and you line up a whole bunch of candidates for interviews, during the day is the normal time that interviews occur. The vast majority, and I have a pretty detailed list, I could happily send you, of when all the meetings occur, but the vast majority of the meetings occur in the evening. It's only when we have meetings with lawyers or personnel meetings. We did 2 meetings during the day during our tenure that people asked that worked at night to stagger them up a little bit. But we've done more evening meetings.
All that I was asking is, we're talking about transparency.
Right.
And spending our money.
And part of the transparency is the process of sending out these surveys, which was poorly done. I admit that. I didn't know that we didn't have email addresses. Part of it is the newsletter. Part of it is the reinvigorated communication committee. And once again, your voice is very important to us on what goes on with the community. Yes?
I have a question actually for our new, youth representatives. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any experience with other communities using electronic voting through, their community portal and their verified email addresses to improve times?
No, that is one of the new Florida statutes, where you can vote by electronically. So I don't have any experience because it's a fairly new law, a fairly new statute with the state of Florida.
I'd be very happy to see that adopted.
We've
I'll be glad
asked,
to
we've
email
asked
you.
Steve just to look into it.
Yeah,
That
and
is new.
that saves a lot of money, and we definitely would do that. Plus, we want more voting participation. I mean, the last 2 elections, we had more participation than we've had in way too long. We had quorums. We hadn't had quorums before. Yes. Yes, sir, you hadn't asked a question.
It would be nice if we could get a mandate from the community for these things. If we just did another survey and with the new people and get everyone's opinion, then I would feel more comfortable saying, well, even if I'm against this, the whole community's for it, I'll let it go. But right now, even though you had 70, some percent of 40%, that's still not anywhere near a majority.
Sure. It's probably better than we've done for most things in the past, but I agree with you. It's completely flawed. I could not believe
Right,
we
I
didn't have
understand.
email
I'm not
addresses.
rich too, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
Yeah.
But before you guys spend the money, let's do it again.
We're not spending money, we're just trying to raise the money right now with this budget. I agree 100% with you. We're getting emails.
You're spending money on
surveys,
50 grand
raising
for a survey.
surveys.
That's
right. I have to agree with what.
But you know, this money gets allocated a year in advance. You know, we can't wake up in
So I guess we'll do
June.
it next year. We'll raise the budget next year. Why would we raise the budget when we don't even know we want this stuff?
Well, I
Okay,
think that.
here's my thought.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like it'd be a lot easier, more palatable to everyone in the community if we take incremental increases. smaller incremental increases as opposed to going from $88 or whatever the fee is now to $140. To me, this seems more financially prudent to take gradual steps. Whether we're gaining North Shore Flood Boulevard or not, there is going to be expenditures, and those expenditures are not cheap. They're going to be the cheapest thing I've heard so far is $1.2 million. So we're going to have to bite the bullet. So why not make that bite as small as possible?
And you couldn't be more articulate or more spot on, so thank you for that. If we want let me do the math for you. If we want $1.2 million to expand this building and have a larger meeting space for our residents and a bigger fitness center and an adult Olympic pool and parking, 1.2 million divided by 1,049 homes comes out to just under $800 a year.
Is that what people want though?
Yeah, that's my question, like the gym, we're talking about doing a major expansion on the gym here. When I'm in there, it's not like there's a ton of people using that.
And some people say that they don't use it because we don't have enough amenities. Some people say that there's no parking. Some people say the hours are too limited.
And most of those same people are people who just don't want to work out.
I understand both perspectives, but I agree, truly in all fairness, I don't think, I understand that point, because we don't wanna see a big hit. What about, but how do we don't have the valid survey yet.
Well,
See what, hang on, let me just ask, let me propose this idea. What if you agreed that you would not move ahead with any of these projects until we have a valid survey that supports what the majority of the homeowners think?
Well, we're not gonna get the majority of the homeowners to agree on anything, Beth,
Hang on.
This is our, let me go ahead and read.
Doesn't the law say if you're going to spend so much of our money, you have to have a majority before you can spend it? I think it's like $100,000.
Also states, the state Florida law states,
It's a law.
I'm sure you know this, Barbara, is that if the project is going to be at least 10% of the budget, you have to have 3 bids. Why aren't we out there at least getting an idea what it's gonna cost us before we spend money? Or you charge
And you
us
have to have a
money
majority
that
vote of
you
the
don't
members
use?
before you can even
That's
start
what
it.
I do.
Here's what the dues are for the communities that surround us, for folks that don't have.
I don't live there, I live here.
We gotta get this.
You don't live there.
sorted out.
If we wanted to leave an Eagle Creek or somewhere, we
No, we
would
live
there.
there.
Get it by here.
Yeah, go down there and look.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
my hand has been up for a while. I think it would be nice if you would answer the question of that gentleman who's a homeowner, that you said he wasn't called
Sure,
about.
what was his question?
Gene, you there?
Yes.
Ask your question.
Well, there's a couple of questions. With regards to the newsletter, how come if we only have approximately 30% of the emails, well, how come we don't just post it on Facebook? You can restrict access so that only the homeowners can get in and look at the newsletters.
I think
And that would be significantly more reasonable than $2,600
How many people are on
to
Facebook?
prepare one
Well, more than you got
newsletter and
emails
do the
for.
mailing.
Go out on Billy's website page and look at all the homeowners out there.
How many on it?
Over 500.
But they're not all North Shore people by far. How
They're
many people in
supposed
here
to be.
are on Facebook?
I'm sorry, what?
It's a closed group.
Okay, so would you prefer to get your newsletter electronically pushed to you, or do you wanna go onto Facebook and get it?
Our website.
Right, I agree. But we-
Put it on the board.
Put it on North Shore website, then we pay for them.
The North Shore website, it is very, very dated, and it doesn't have a lot of technical competencies. So, look, once again, our goal is to email this newsletter out and save that money. When you get your budget coupon, you're gonna have a survey in there for your proper contact numbers. We have residents we don't have any numbers for, if there's an emergency or some need to contact people. So we are gonna, under our new property management company, gonna send out a survey to all the residents. There's also been blurbs in the newsletter about, please make sure that we have your proper contact information.
So Dave, I have a question. So if
Yes,
we start
Laura.
doing this electronically,
Yes,
does
ma'am.
that mean that the price will go down?
Significantly, sure.
So that 1,300 is for a paper newsletter. If we were to do it electronically, then the price would be.
You want to printing and mail to us?
In a real world, I don't.
Yeah, right? Well, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
We don't, first we need emails, and then we have to be able to get people to use it that way. We're not even there yet. So that's a great vision, but right now, I wanna focus on the budget.
So do we, this is budget meeting. So we're not the ones that went off topic, we're just trying to address everyone's questions.
This is budget, I get it.
So what's your question?
I have four, I think it'll be quick. If we were to not, if we were to start raising money now and not spend it, I have an assumption that then we would offset our dues in future years by not continuing to fill the reserve account. That's the logical response in my opinion, and I haven't heard that, I'm assuming it, is that probably true?
I would say, if we don't improve this clubhouse, and we don't do anything with the gates, and in 2 years, everything's just like it is today, sure, we'll be over reserved.
I mean, we've had,
That would
dues
be-
reductions
Oh,
before.
I'm sorry, and I'm gonna call, John Baker.
I got
Okay,
quite-
but John Baker wants to, John's a former board member.
All right, you had
Okay.
three questions.
So, that was the one about that. Two questions about these improvements, and the other one is about the budget itself for next year. So the improvements are, what property is envisioned for these expansions? Because it seems like it's all being used. And then the other is, when we go get bids and ask for future votes or input, it would be nice to have an itemized thing of the total annual expense for the, because I foresee becoming an employer now of at least 4 people to maintain that gate if it's guarded. So there's an annual expense that's never gonna get cheaper that I would like to understand better. So I'm just asking you to provide that.
Ballpark, and that's about $150,000 a year to have a company provide people
To man the gate.
To man the gate.
So
it's like
that's,
what,
So we already have.
so that's beyond the construction part.
So we have that figure, that's a reoccurring,
Exactly.
fixed cost.
So the other one, so the first one was where do we envision doing that? And then my budget question is, I just noticed this cable income says 0 for this year, and now it's 63,000. What is that? I don't know what it is. It's at the bottom of the first page.
So cable income, is that what you said?
Yes.
63,000.
What was that for? Is that a typo?
It's probably supposed to be in a different,
We have no cable income that we know
What?
of. Sorry, John, go ahead.
I was gonna say, unless you guys got a check, that should be 0.
We have no cable income
And
that we know
since
of.
it's 0, that means that your income alone is more than a 17% increase.
Yeah, Ramonda's gonna check that, she gathered all this.
Special assessment rates.
Good, what's your next question?
Just, you guys have done a lot of great thinking on this. Where do you see a pool going that is not in already places occupied in a bigger parking lot? Are we
We're talking about,
taking out that?
no, we can't take out the ball field. The ball field is part of your amenities, that can change, but there's reconfigurations that can be done.
Okay, so you can put it on.
You will, the ball field is part of your amenities, and the ball field will not go away. For sure.
Wouldn't necessarily be offered by, I'm just saying.
Well,
I just would like to know
look,
the
and
vision.
by the way,
for-
while we're talking about the ball field, is the vast majority of the people that use the ball field are non-North Shore residents that think it's part of the elementary school.
Right.
So we chase more people off that ball field, that our residents can't go and use it or practice, and it's an issue that we have to address.
But
Yeah,
if we
we're
were to
having a-
take that out, that would have to go out to the homeowners as a.
We can.
Either that or relocate it.
You can do it.
Relocate that.
Right.
And use that land.
I just
for a bigger
didn't know what the
building.
rules were.
Parking. Yeah, so we have a ball field that we maintain that other people, non-North Shore, just like, on some months we've no trespass 50 people out of this fitness center.
Right.
I mean, we really have to address trespassing and vandalism and car break-ins, as well as traffic and things like that. I mean, Corporal Ramsey's here somewhere. The amount of no trespass, and non-North Shore residents that we have to put out of here is really bad, and a lot of our board members are very concerned with the apartments and some of the other things coming in for the communities that have no amenities, that our amenities are very attractive, that you guys all pay to maintain.
Have we done a traffic study? Like, is it possible to do a traffic study to see, you know, how many people are using North Shore Boulevard today as a cut through? Is there a way to know that?
County might be able to.
I'm sorry, Corporal knows that.
Well, without actually doing a study, we do on occasion set up on North Shore and write tickets for people passing through or speeding. And I can tell you, last month, I wrote 17 here, and out of that, about 12 of them were people cutting through. And on an average basis, that's what it is. People cutting through to get through. A lot of them are coming from neighborhoods over here. They don't go all the way up to Narcoossee.
So is it reasonable to think that the majority of the traffic that's on North Shore Club Boulevard are non-North Shore residents?
Statistically, I don't know if I can say a majority, because I'm not out here for myself, but the majority of the speeders that I have come in contact with, without polling the other deputies that work out with me, I couldn't tell you, but the majority that I've come in contact with are people that are cutting through. And then, I don't want to interrupt the meeting, but just to reiterate, I know you've been talking about closing off the gates and neighborhoods going in, that they're going to be sending the traffic out to Narcoossee. Well, everybody knows going out to Narcoossee, it's going to be busy, so they're going to find the cut throughs. And I work county-wide, and I deal with this issue, and other subdivisions get called because they have the ability to cut through, and they call constantly in traffic complaints that our motor guys have to go out and work that are for strictly that people cutting through. So if they find a way to avoid the major areas to get through, you got like Nona High School, you got the medical center going out there. And so if they can cut through your neighborhood to get to those quicker, they will. And as far as the county saying no, they won't cut it or close it off, because then, you know, the county needs to divert traffic, that's not an accurate statement. Because we have several areas throughout Orange County that is like that. And what happens is if we have a case like that where we have to divert traffic through, then we'll come in and open the gates, the sheriff's on floor. You know, man, I can open the gates and push traffic through in a case of something like that. But the roads are so large, at least on Moss Park, well, that's not going to occur.
In your experience, the speed bumps change a lot of that?
In my experience, most subdivisions that have requested it, they haven't taken out and can't get it out.
Why, because they don't want to go slow?
No, because the wear and tear on the vehicle.
I was more dangerous. Yes, the wear and tear on the vehicle because it's going too fast.
No. Think about it, if you can come into a neighborhood, you live here, and let's say you leave in and out 4 times in a day. You go to work, you come home, and then you go to the grocery store. That's 4 times, multiply that by 365 days. Even if you took out, let's say, 100 days of that, if you stay home for vacations or whatever, all that going up and down, you at 20 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour. Yeah, he at 10 miles an hour.
At 10, I just like Kirby Smith, at 10, it is perfect smooth. It is not, it does not put jerk on them.
The car's not designed to constantly be doing this. The ones that happen is just extra wear and tear.
It's not constantly, if you had three of them between here and there, that's not even constant, it will make it slow down.
I'm just talking from my experience, most neighborhoods that requested it, they wind up fighting the county.
Can we keep on task with budget?
Yeah, thank you, Corporal. Yeah, I'm sorry, some folks have some questions. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so my bigger concern is that, and I know you guys got a tall order in front of you because you're trying to please and you're and so forth, but we get $2 million in unrestricted cash, aside from our reserve.
Sorry.
Am I wrong?
Yeah. One sec, Don address that for us.
I'm sorry, I missed the question we're discussing.
No, we have $2 million, roughly speaking, unrestricted cash. And we also got a reserve account that needs a little bit more funding. Or we're still waiting for the reserve study to come back to really know how much our reserve account really needs to be funded.
The money that's in unrestricted includes operating money too. So we need to have some money in there. The other thing too is we don't wanna drain all our money out. We gotta have money, we have our economic downturn, people don't pay their dues and all that stuff. We gotta start paying ourselves. So you don't wanna run it down to zero and pay for everything out of that, we have nothing, then start over refunding it. And then next year or 2 years, the economy tanks. You know what I mean?
The vision that that whatever the community is, we talk about competing with other communities and that sort of thing. People buy today on monthly payment more so than anything else. So when we start every item that we're gonna add, that we might choose to add into our community and amenities is gonna increase costs. It's gonna increase HOA dues. HOA dues are a huge driving factor. They used to not be during the boom, but now they are. Factor into your mortgage payment. When you're talking about just taking $20 a month more than we would have to normally, now granted, we have cable income now we have to take into account. But if we're taking $20 a month per household to fund, right now we're saying 3 specific items. There are 3 specific items that you get this attendance at this board meeting. You only get this as like being a Christian to those that come to just Easter and to Christmas. So they come to board meetings for the budget meeting and they come to board meetings for an election. Aside from that, you don't get anything else. You go look online and try to find board minutes. The board minutes don't tell you, don't give you any insight of really what we can expect here. I talked to Dave for an hour last week and was finally able to understand. I live in Heron Point, and that's the first time I knew that Heron Point had to be part of a gating plan. There's just not enough information of what the vision is for the community, and we're asking to take $20 a month per household to fund what we think is gonna come. And it just seems that there's not enough, if we had posted, we sent out a mailer that said we're gonna talk about just the gates, or we're gonna talk about just the vision of the community, you'd have this many, if not more people here to discuss that. So I just think we need to be hesitant before we say, let's just raise everybody's dues $20 a month. And I'm using $20 because of what you guys have done, our monthly dues would be $4 a month less because of all the hard work you put in. So we'll all stand up and applaud that. And now you got $20 more a month.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm all for cutting the dues, but I'm also for improving our community. And I think we need to do it incrementally, start getting the money now. And as we're planning, this is not gonna happen overnight, and we will do more surveys and studies once we get all the email addresses. Hopefully the next 3 months, we'll have all that and progress, but it'd be nice if maybe by next summer or fall, we can start breaking ground and complete it in 2017.
There's not a single budget, there's not a line item. There's nothing that outlines for us, and that's why you got a lot of people here who are angry and frustrated, because they just don't know what we can really expect. If we're gonna go put in a bigger pool, where are we in the state?
Where are you gonna put it? We have over here, but listen, we're gonna have a buildings and grounds committee. They're gonna get together, there's gonna be a lot of people involved in making these decisions. We're
But
not
right
gonna
now,
make all the
nobody's
decisions.
involved.
We're paying the bill.
You're asking for us to give you money and we've got nothing.
I'm talking building and ground committee that are.
Yeah, we're paying
HOAs.
it free, not the building and ground committee.
So, but you can be on the committee if you'd like to. You have input, you need volunteers.
That's not the point.
But what the board's gonna
Well,
do
here's
today, what the board's gonna do today is the board's gonna say, we approve the annual we're gonna approve the annual budget, and so everybody's dues are gonna be $20 more than they really have to be. And then, but we still don't know, we're gonna find out over the next year and a half. You gotta be able, if we're gonna bring, it is a lot more vetting and due diligence to bring all these changes and these amenities to this community. What's the impact of, what's the benefit? When you design a community pool, there's a code you can call on how many residents you have, or maybe you upsize it, but you never know how big you're really gonna need it. And it's never gonna be big enough.
We can do that, because this pool is grossly inadequate for the number of people that live here.
So anybody who's curious on what we're gonna do with this money, let me just say, the money's gonna go to gate improvements and improvement of this recreation center. I mean, and you can count on that, and in a year or two, we'll be able to show demonstrated efforts to improve both of these amenities.
Right, so we're taking $20 a month extra based off what's to come, that we don't know what's to come.
You have to take an advance, you have to take an advance.
We got $2 million and we got pay it out of reserves.
There has to be a plan in place. You have to turn around and say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We wanna put a pool in. This is where it's gonna go. This is how big it's gonna be. And in today's dollars, this is what we're estimating it's gonna cost. And it's gonna take a raise in our dues of X number of dollars over X number of years for us to accomplish that. If you do that, everyone's gonna be on board with it. But you can't come in and say, give me $20 more and we're gonna just throw it in the community wherever we feel we want it to be, because that's not right.
Yeah.
It's our community.
And it's not where we feel. I have a pool at my house, Don has a
I have a
pool at his
pool.
house. This is what people came to us over our
But
tenure.
you keep saying people, there's been no surveys, there's been
There has been a
nothing.
survey. Go ahead, Mr. Bauer.
First off, I hear some great things that the board is trying to do. I hear some great comments and valid comments coming from the audience. I wonder if there isn't a compromise? The compromise is, what if we went ahead and increased the 20? Have the board put that in an escrow account, not to spend it, to take a look at this thing. Hang on a second, put temporarily in an escrow account.
Can't do it. It's a law.
They call an escrow account or a
Keep it
reserve
separate
account.
some way.
It goes into
It has to be sequestered.
Okay, keep it in a sequestered account. With the idea that the board has to come out with a survey, which we've talked about, after they have additional information. They can make proposals on 1 item or 2 items or 3 items, whatever they think is appropriate. And then there's a vote taken in the community somehow, and if it's a 50% or a higher majority, we go ahead. If no, we don't. If we have nothing that anybody wants to do, the sequestered account gets returned to the homeowners at the end of the year.
Or just wait another year once we get all that done, and then do it for the next year. So we push it back a year. At least we'll know whether or not we're gonna do it.
I'm not, and I know your frustration with what you think the response will be, and the only thing I'm gonna try to once again say to you is that as a homeowner, at least the survey has to go to every homeowner to be given an opportunity to respond.
We will do that.
And
We will
if,
make sure
and
that
if,
that's
and,
done.
and if only 20% of people respond, whatever they say they're in favor of, I accept that. But, you know, you may not agree, but I'm just saying, it has to be everyone in the community, and with a point.
And Beth, we couldn't agree with you more, that every resident has to get communication from us.
Buildings and Grounds a few years ago put a survey out on our official website, and a lot of people answered it. And the biggest complaint, because I was on the committee at that time, from the residents was, we had a whole list of things that we wanted them to rate what order they wanted them, to up the amenities and do that thing. Everybody came back and says, why isn't there a spot that says we want nothing done? Okay? That survey's still out there. You can go out and look at the stuff. They wanted additions to the playground. We did additions to the playground. But we didn't get the money up front and say, okay, now we got this money, let's do what we want. We went to the people first and said, okay, here's a list of what we're thinking. What do you guys think? What do you want? And that was a survey that didn't cost us a dime.
Is the value of your home important to you?
Yes.
It is to me too.
It's going up
And
now.
we're a 10-year-old community. There are new communities, they just announced another 10,000 homes south of Lee District. They're building communities with better amenities than
John,
we
I
have.
agree with you. I think
And
we need to up
we
our
need to
amenities,
up it.
but we need to do it as a community.
Yeah, I don't think anybody.
That's the only complaint I have, is we are not doing things as a community. We are doing what the board wants, and that's it.
I think they tried to send out a survey. I applaud the board for what they tried to do. You admitted it was a failed attempt. And I think we're all trying to say, we may want these things, but I'm just not personally comfortable with the way it's being presented.
So how about, let's, because we gave this a half an hour or an hour into, how about we take the $15 and 79 cent increase and say all of that's gonna go towards gating, cameras, better access?
No.
No.
You're not gonna spend it all on engineering studies to gate in the
Go ahead,
boulevard.
John.
Dave. The few of you that may not know, I'm John Baker. I've just been on the board for a long, long time. I now am on your Buildings and Grounds Committee, okay? There's a couple other folks in here in the room that are on the Buildings and Grounds Committee. We don't have a clue about what you're talking about. We've asked the question, what do you want us to study for? We don't know yet.
Prove
I
my
am-
point.
I am more than willing to assist significantly with the people that are currently on the committee and everyone else in this room that wants to come and sit in this room with the 6 of us that are on that committee and be a much larger strategic task force to plan these things out and use my skills and the other people that do that type of work to create a plan. Right now, we have no strategic plan, we have no budget, we have no clue.
That's right.
And it's embarrassing for me to have to stand up here and say this in front of everybody.
Mr. Baker,
I'm all in favor of sitting down, mapping out all this stuff, mailing a survey to everybody until we get the emails right, get that priority list, plan it out, and then come back next year with an itemized plan and a method of funding it, which doesn't have to be, let's raise 25% of the money a year for 4 years. There are other funding vehicles that won't cost us such a huge hit in our wallet on a monthly basis. Okay? There's a right way to do this, Dave. I'm more than willing to help you do this, but this isn't the right way. I've still got other questions in the budget we haven't even got to yet, but I don't think anybody here in the room can support a 32% increase in a single line item thinly disguised as a special assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's do it the right way.
Yeah.
Okay? Trim it back to $100 grand, so it's a slight increase from what we've been paying in, to continue funding the reserves. And please, everybody in this room, come to the Buildings and Grounds Committee meetings, and let's plan it out. Okay? That's my suggested compromise to that budget line item. Unfortunately, I still got a few other things we got to talk about.
Thank you, Josh.
Can we maybe just see how many people are on that same page? By a raise of hands?
Yeah, quick
that are
survey,
raised
who wants
here?
to see an improvement in our amenities, bigger than?
Move to make the line item reserve fund income $100,000 in lieu of $310,963.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Opposed?
Want a motion?
5-1.
There's your motion.
What are your other questions, John?
Okay.
Hey, and by the way, John has been part of the leadership of this community since the beginning. And John has a lot of credence in his voice, and he has a lot of construction, a lot of expertise. John did a great job when he was with us, and John was also the board liaison to Building and Grounds. We haven't replaced his board liaison. I think Mark and I are gonna tag team that. But I have had a lot of dialogues with Jamie, and what came to us from Building and Grounds, and maybe it wasn't the clearest voice, was 2 things from Building and Grounds. Dog poop stations and more landscaping, better landscaping. And that's what came back.
No, that's what came back to do something with this year's allocation of this year's budget as a project for this year. The Buildings and Grounds Committee sent you a lengthy list of questions so that we could become an asset on how to actually map out a strategic plan so that the rest of the community will buy in. And we're waiting on that information. Now, because unfortunately, by correcting the mistake on cable income, you're now proposing another $5 a month increase to recover that 63 grand that's got to come from
John,
somewhere else.
Dr. Ramona just a few minutes ago, that was put in the wrong spot by accident.
Don, it's an income line. If
It's
you
an
need-
income line, but it should have been on another line.
Yeah, so
It's
unless we
still gonna be there,
decrease,
it's
unless
not
we
cable
decrease
income.
something else
Yeah.
on the income side, the expenses are.
Parking fees going up or what?
There's a number of them.
So
You
it's
have
supposed to be split?
80, you have $80-some odd $1,000 in other income between, hang on,
So it still belongs in the income area, just not on that particular line?
right, yes.
Where are you gonna get the income from?
It's coming in.
It's
On what? Parking
It's
fees
not
going
cable
up or
income,
what?
it's other incomes listed there. She put it in the wrong spot on the computer. It's a typo.
Well, the only other income is gonna be interest on reserves, which automatically falls back out when we get to the bottom of the budget. So if that's the
No, you
interest
have
on
clubhouse
reserves,
use.
it's gonna zero out.
No, you have clubhouse use income, you have gate fees and gate cards. That, the gate fees and cards for the, gates, you budgeted 8,000, just through the end of September, you're already at $9,200. So you're making more on your cards than what you anticipated. So.
That's not 60.
There's still something bad wrong there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, something's not
Well,
right.
until I get the program in front of me, I don't have my computer,
Okay.
I can't.
All right, we got some other ones though.
Legal.
Yeah, the next one's legal. If the number of bad debts going down and we're not chasing people for bad debt, what are we spending money on? Because that number was pumped up to where it is in the bad years because we were chasing so much bad debt.
Well, actually, you still have bad debt. You have a reserve for bad debt,
And
which is a balance sheet item, not an
Which is
operating income item.
overfunded.
Which is overfunded, and that's why the bad debt for the expense side is
Right.
up there, because it's overfunded.
Yeah, but we're overfunded, so that's not a function of the legal fee line item.
Yeah, so why is it
All
coming
right,
up?
the reason we have that in there, we're disengaging from three law firms. We're still talking to two of them. That has not been settled yet. We don't know what's gonna cost us yet. So, John, you should have KG.
That's this year's. I know all about it.
But it's not done yet.
That's
It's not done yet.
yeah, and that's the unrestricted money that's been gathering for the last 5.
Sure.
This is what you're gonna project to spend next year for next year's line item.
And we also have some.
Are you saying
litigation.
Jennifer is more inefficient than the 3 law firms she replaced and cost us more
Efficient,
money?
Not inefficient, efficient.
No, inefficient. Because you're saying she can't do the job in the same amount of billable hours. You're saying she's gotta work harder and longer to do the same
I don't know how
job.
these things are gonna come out.
So, how
John,
do
let me
you, how
ask
did
you
you
this.
come up with that?
In the past, when you were on the board, we were
Don,
doing
I had to
$100,000
sit and suffer the same swings and arrows. How did you formulate a 20%, how did you formulate a 25% increase in legal fees?
Yes.
We want to make sure we have enough money. to cover
Okay,
the
hey,
litigation.
so Don hasn't said, there's 2 law firms that are still having significant bills against North Shore. One is KGB, Casper and Garfinkel, which those of you who are versed in board minutes, the previous boards have tried to fire for years. They're running up the bill at a pretty vicious rate. We take exception to some of their bills, along with Becker and Polikoff. So we have bills that are being generated from these attorneys. Some of them go back 5 and 6 years of work. We're trying to make a settlement offer. We're trying to audit bills that are multi-year low, and we've already bought off one of the 3 attorneys that we don't think we're being good stewards of our residents. And it's quite a bit of an unknown. I mean, look, the board's tried to fire KGB for how many years, John? Rose? How many years have you tried to fire KGB?
We went back and forth with the idea until we found out it was gonna cost us too much money to step out of it. So we just only allowed the remaining, accounts to stay with them and we moved to another attorney, but it was expensive.
Yeah, $167,000.
It was very expensive.
$167,000.
Go back and read them.
That was from.
That's what they asked for to terminate
Are
an agreement.
there any other lawsuits besides what, our attorney fees that we will be having to have her cover? And
Yes.
any other lawsuits that are going on?
No.
Okay, there won't be any other?
Well, I'm not saying there won't be any other. That's the only pending lawsuit at this time.
Okay.
Why is legal going up 30%?
What did I just miss?
I'm sorry, go ahead. You've had your hand up for a long time.
Thanks, Dave, thank you so much, appreciate it. Couple of things, 3 things. One is, I don't see any actual columns on here, so I have no idea what we're spending. So whenever we do budgets, like in any line of work I work in, I see actual compared to last year's budget as well as this year's budget. So if you say we spent $167,000 on legal, then we ought to be able to see that here. That's one observation. So it'd be great if we could modify the budget spreadsheet. Second question is it'd be really nice to see a balance sheet too. Like, I don't have a reserve summary. Like, I have no idea what reserves we have except for the first sentence.
Reserve is on this letter that was sent out.
No, it's right here on the, yeah, I have that.
Yeah, that's what the reserve,
Yeah,
how many we have in our reserves, and this is, I think, the first year that we put that information out. Since I've been here, I
That
never
should,
even looked at
the
reserves.
balance sheet should be, in the
balance sheet.
interest of transparency to the community, the balance sheet
I
should
agree
be.
100% with you.
And so, yeah,
on it for next
so
year.
that's another one observation. And then the last one is back to what John was saying earlier. And this gentleman over here was saying about HOA dues, you know, incrementally going up, and You know, I'm not seeing a stepping kind of effect, right? So wouldn't we want to do a projection on what we envision these improvements to be, that John said? Put a price tag on those and a strategic plan around that. Get a cost estimate on what those are. Granted, we may or may not do the, you know, the gate or whatever, but come up with a cost estimate and an additional cost estimate on what it's going to take to man, you know, or whatever it is. The total cost of the vision in each of these 3 initiatives. Figure that out, and then put that to a timeline, and then figure out how that's going to be funded. Is that going to be funded out of reserves, or is that going to be funded out of HOA due increases, or both, and to what extent, and over what time frame? So will we see HOA dues go up by incrementally? Will they go up $15 a year for the next 5 years? Or will they go from 15 to suddenly 35 because now we just swallowed a big nut on the road? I mean, the point is you have to do a vision and a strategic plan around what the total cost estimate is. I mean, come on, guys. You got to run this like your family. You don't just go out and just build stuff and then figure out where you're going to get the money later. I mean, you have to do a plan, estimate the cost, count the cost, and then figure out how you're going to fund that over what time frame, point A to point B by when, and how you're going to fund it.
I understand what you're saying, but
For what?
we delayed this, all we're gonna do is delay it another year.
We're not delaying anything, we're just asking for a plan, and that's the cost of
Tonight, we're doing the budget for next year, which we gotta figure out. If we don't raise it now, it won't be raised for next year, and I'm good with it.
We're not gonna have a plan till next year.
Just do an informed increase, that's all we're saying. We don't even know what we're increasing this for. There aren't any cost estimates.
Hold on, I'm getting it.
We're not giving a detailed, you know, hey, here's the building we're gonna build, and this is how much it's gonna be, the square footage. We don't have that stuff yet. But
Then maybe we should have worked on that.
Then you shouldn't
We need to work
be
on it.
increasing HOA dues until you have a plan.
That's what they're for.
We used to do a nice presentation on PowerPoint there. We used to go line by line, item by item, and it hasn't been done.
I
We
rest my
haven't
case.
sent out a history in any other budgets before. We used to send it all out. I mean, transparency, how much are you guys hiding?
Where's the balance sheet at?
I don't think it's a matter of hiding.
I don't
But I
think
do
it is
agree
either, but
that
it's-
we need to have it.
Maybe you should ask for all the financials and all the documents and see how much has been funneled somewhere else.
Listen, I didn't say that, all right? I just want you to know, I didn't say that.
I
All I
can't
asked
find
for
the
was a
agenda.
balance sheet, all right?
Yeah,
And a reserve study.
correct, a balance sheet and a reserve study.
Do you mind if I speak?
Bank fees.
I can't hear you.
Bank
fees.
Yeah, the bank charges, they've gone up from 300 a year to 4,900.
Ramona can answer that one. Can you explain the bank fees?
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
You know what? I get what you guys are all saying, and the interest of, you know, everyone can be happy, everything's palatable. I'm gonna make a motion that we just keep our dues the same, and we'll take everyone's recommendations, we'll have a better formulated plan, and we'll hit it for next year.
I think I like John Baker's idea.
I like John Baker's idea too.
I'm all for that, but there's still a few more things.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You still got other errors in this budget. This budget immaterial is screwed. This thing is
That's what I'm saying, that's just
I know,
key.
it's riddled with errors. You don't even know if that number works, Don. I'm sorry.
$62,000.
I'd love to agree with you. I can't, because this document sucks. Okay? We've already talked about that you think the 62 grand on the front side is your interest that you're making on reserves. That means,
No one said that.
well, nobody said that, but let's make that rash assumption.
I know.
Having done this, go to the last page of the budget. You got a line item on the last page of the budget for reserve interest income. Those two numbers are supposed to walk. You got 0.
You
The
don't
very
plan.
top line of the last budget, those two
Right,
numbers
but
have
you
a
don't,
line.
this money is not reserved interest. You don't plan on your reserve interest because you cannot use it
So,
anywhere else
where-
within your reserves.
Where is it from then? How can you make that statement if you can't tell us where it came from?
I have to get the computer to be able to tell you where it's from, but I can tell you it's not from reserve income because that line item is always zero. You don't know what you're going to earn, and it cannot be used by statute anywhere else but in the reserves.
That 310 is the income.
Okay, we have the person on the phone that has a question, and I've been having my hand up for quite a while, so we're just gonna step right on in. Go ahead.
I've got 3 questions, Mr. Treasurer. Are you familiar with 720-303-6, paren 6, from A to H?
I'd have to read it, Gene. I don't memorize it. Next question.
Well, you signed an affidavit when
I'm
you were
familiar
elected
with
on
it, but I don't have it memorized for
and
the
you
questions
understood
okay.
exactly what was going on as far as section 720. That has to do with budgeting. It goes through and itemizes exactly how the budget is to be prepared. Well, draft is not prepared. The way that the budget is supposed to be prepared, according to 720-303, you will have the previous fiscal year reported, both budgeted as well as any variances. Plus
Jim,
or
you know
minus.
what?
So
Our
that would
management
be
company prepared this budget.
2013. Okay? Then you have the same amount of money in the budget as of year to date when you report it. And then you take that forward and put it into the 2016 budget. That's the first one, all right? So this draft.
Gene, he's ignoring you.
Okay, well, guess what? I don't give a hoot, all right? Because basically, his D&O insurance goes away the minute that he doesn't follow the rules.
Gene, we are trying to follow the rules as closely as possible, okay? We're trying to be transparent.
Second thing,
Okay.
restricted reserve accounts. You have restricted reserve accounts that have been set up since September of 2008, when there was a pooling of funds. Can you give me balances on all of the restricted reserve accounts at this time? I'll give you some time. You can put it together and then just deliver it via mail. And last but far from least is, if those funds have either been broken or taken out of sequestration and commingled with current funds, you have broken the pooled
That is not happening,
exercise.
Gene.
And that requires a disclosure that is in 320, 720-303, paren 6. It outlines exactly what the disclosure is.
Can we keep it down so we can hear what he's saying?
Has to be notified.
Hey, Gene, send me an email to the other one, I'll answer it, and no to your last question there. All right? Send me the email for that last one, the question before that one, send me an email for the amounts that you're looking for, and on the last question, the answer is no. We haven't touched those reserve accounts.
You have not commingled.
Not that I'm aware of.
When I left the board, the last checks that I did in June before the election, we had $2.3 million in reserves total. You just told us today it was 1.9. Can you tell me where all
No,
the
I
money?
didn't tell you that. I said unrestricted funds are 1.9.
I asked you about the reserves.
I didn't, I said unrestricted was 1.9.
Well, where's all the money? Because
Well, Rose, I got a question for you. I sat at the board where there was 300 some thousand that was extra in 2013. I looked from 13 to 14, our reserves went down to 4,000. Where'd that money go?
4,000 because we did,
We spent over 300 some thousand dollars? I said, I was right there listening to it.
We were paying to keep up with the, this rec center, putting floors in, getting.
300 some thousand dollars?
We did the, roads,
Wait, why are we talking?
Yeah, just digress. Let's get back on topic.
That's $1.7 million in reserves, and you got $1.9 million that is money that was collected in prior years and never spent. So you could start with the $1.9 million and part of the money to fund some of the projects that you want to do. And then you could get the grounds committee to come up with additional plans that you want to do, that they can go out and they can find out how much money how much money is going to cost to do it, and then how much money is going to cost to maintain it over a period of years. And that's kind of some of the things I've heard here today. Is a lot of people don't like the $20 increase when they don't know what they're getting for that $20. I mean, that's basically what I'm hearing.
It sounds like people were willing to do a smaller increase while we wait for a more strategic plan. And I think in order to make a motion, I mean, I know there's other things in the budget to talk about, but that is progress. So maybe I don't.
And so what kind of increase would be palatable?
We gotta figure out the budget.
See, that's what I'm saying, we just keep.
They're not done with the budget.
Doing the same. The budget is gonna keep it that way. There are some things that have been pulled back. If we keep the same, and that's what you said.
Depends what number you need on it.
Ramona, did you answer on the bank charge?
Yeah, what was that answer?
412 for the year, not a month.
Go with me.
I'm sorry, what, Ramona?
The bank charges,
412 a year.
412 for the year, not for the month.
Good.
I have a question regarding the letter that was mailed in the budget, in which say that your assessment should be mailed no later than November 30th, and if it's not received by December 5th, it will be returned to you. In the past,
Not your assessment, your monthly due.
yeah, monthly due, that's what I meant, sorry. In the past, I thought was under the impression that your bill is actually not late until the 15th of the month.
But First
But they
Service,
granted
First
monthly
Service
due
is
to
closing,
30th.
First Service is closing that account. When we terminate with them, they can't collect your money anymore, so their last day is December 6th. Your monthly dues is due on the 1st. So you gotta pay the December one on time.
It's due on the 1st, but not later until the 16th of the month.
They're closing the accounts on December.
Right, this is a
6th.
one-time issue.
One-time only.
Just for the month.
So pay your $88.
You should have asked it then if we could abide by that. But this sounds like a directive because it was stated that
It is a
will be returned to
directive.
you.
They're closing the account on December 6th, and all of your January payments for next year will go to Aegis's lockbox. So pay your December payment on time.
I mean, I'm just asking on behalf
Oh,
of
yeah.
everybody. I'm going to stay for the
It
30th.
couldn't, it couldn't be clearer. You gotta pay December before December 6th. It's due on December 1st. The account will be closed on December 7th. We'll no longer be doing business with First Service on December 7th. Aegis will have the new, they've already got the account set up. They're already gonna have the new coupon for you. The accounts will change, the bank will change. You're gonna have to pay attention to it.
Go ahead, Barbara.
All we're waiting to mail the letters to introduce ourselves and give the payment instructions and such, and the update on the information is we're waiting for the budget to be approved. As soon as that's approved, everything will be mailed out to the home. Okay.
Thank you, Barbara.
All right, well, my motion is keep the budget the same. If you don't feel budget, you can't go wrong. That's it. Well, what is other committees are doing that? Because in that way, there's no one to come back and say, I'll second it.
What does keep it the same mean?
It would be 8843, there'll be no net increase, no net decrease.
Well, let me ask you, why would you do that if you've already identified
Because
certain, wait a second, if you've identified certain reductions already in your great work, then why would we not
In the
have
720.
Don't get greedy.
I'm not getting greedy, I'm just saying, why?
As John pointed out, there's some mistakes in there, just to make sure we have everything covered. And at least 720 says if you don't have a budget that you can agree on, then you can keep the same budget if you can't pass a new one.
Well, I think what he
And
meant is
today's
just-
November 11th, this stuff has to be mailed out to you guys, we have time frames to work with. So we can't go back to the drawing board and take another 15 days or trying to get it back right again. So we gotta agree on a budget today, and there are some mistakes in it that have been pointed out. So the safest course of action, in my opinion, is to keep them at the same exact levels, there's no increase, there's no decrease. And I think that's the safest and fairest way to handle this. And then we'll address everything that you guys raised, get the surveys out, and, you know.
If we do that, what's the action plan? Like, what's the, okay, so if you do that, so what's the action plan? What are we gonna do next?
Survey.
Survey, and then?
Survey.
Well, we already did a survey.
And we also gotta survey that road. Real quick, so, looking at that road,
yeah,
I don't know if there's gonna be enough room to put all the lanes we need. And if there's not enough room, well, you can make the room, but how expensive does that get if you wanna spend the money?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that would work.
So let,
And
so
you
let-
have to look aesthetically pleasing too.
So is one of the next steps to actually do a complete
find that
cost
out.
analysis of
Yes.
each of these 3 initiatives?
Yeah, find out the gate that can happen.
First thing is a feasibility study, whether you can even do the gate.
Thank you, I've been asking for that for 3 meetings.
And we need to fund that.
I mean, I'm not trying to be smart, I did, I mean, I have, you know.
Look, and
But
we've
isn't
had,
that study already underway?
yeah, we've had two,
Not yet.
we've had 2 engineers come out here and eyeball it to see what they would charge us for the feasibility study. So we're along that, but then we have to go ahead and vote to budget the money for the feasibility study. So we've had 2 engineers come out and look at it, try and digest what we got to work with, to come back to give us a quote so that we can vote for the feasibility study.
What about Jennifer Thompson? Have you talked to them to see what is their standpoint on the road and what they
I've got an email from her, she's totally against it.
She's not on board with that.
She's against
And
it.
oh,
I have it
Orange
right here.
County also is not on board with the road being closed. If you're gonna close it, you have to close it after Harris Point, because you cannot close in public schools in a gated community.
Yeah,
You
but
can't do that.
here's the workaround on that. If we annex to the city, Jennifer Thompson is irrelevant.
If we annex,
That's-
how do we
that's-
know we're
one.
gonna annex?
Number 2.
That's the angle that.
Also,
It would take 100% vote of the membership to
No,
do
that's
that.
what you're not going with. We get
I know,
grandfathered in.
that's the workaround, what you're saying. That's the
Perpetual. Already have that discussed. Jennifer Thompson, Dolly, Jennifer Thompson sent me a checklist of things that she wants us to do for this, okay? Okay, so she's heard your voice, she's heard our voice, okay? A pretty big coup was to have the school and the golf course agree to it as well. We're gonna allow unfettered access. As Corporal Ramsey said, if there's any emergency, all the gates open, and any natural emergency, a train derailment, okay? We're not gonna allow unfettered access to the school or for anybody in times of need, okay? Good, John.
So, one more significant one, and I'm hoping this is good news. There's a pretty substantial increase in on-site management. One of the things that Buildings and Grounds asked is that increase because we're gonna have a full-time handyman to work off the list of items that Buildings and Grounds has identified that could be done by a handyman? Or is that just an increase in fees because of the change in companies?
I can answer that one.
Please do, Ramon, go.
Neither one.
Okay,
go,
we're done.
Rob.
Oh, Mike, what are we doing?
Next question.
That's current staff with a slight increase, and an increase in your, the health insurance is going up January 1st, that you paid for the two
Thank you,
full-time
I'm
employees.
yes, okay.
No full-time maintenance
So,
person.
same staffing level, just with cost of living.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So if we're gonna do this survey, can I, request that the Building and Grounds Committee put the survey together?
You know what, we'll address that in a normal board meeting, let's get the budget passed first, and then we'll move on to the other meeting, and we address all those technical concerns. So I made the motion, I think Mark seconded, to keep the budget where the,
Any other discussion about keeping the budget the same? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Now, next year, when we get back to the $40 a month,
Nothing's changed.
Motion to adjourn the budget meeting.
Alright, honey, I'll talk to you
In the office.